What's good, everybody? Welcome in to the Early Edge on this glorious Sunday as we are in Week 8. A full slate, kind of a scheduling quirk today that there are no bye weeks. All 32 teams are in action this week, so we got a lot to get to. Now, yesterday, the epitome kind of a ho-hum day. It was a nice day for SportsLine. My crew, EC, AB, Chip, exactly 9-9. And then Danny Brasco, Tyson Fury by TKO. Tyson Fury is lucky he still has a 0 next to his name in the loss column because he got beat yesterday. But that's boxing, and this is the NFL. And when you have 13 games to get to, you got to get right to it. Let's bring in the stars of the show. You know them. You love them. Proppy is here. Counselor is here. AB is here. Counselor, I kind of feel like I'm in your what would be your neck of the woods. Do you know where I'm sitting right now that if I open this window right behind me, what would be there?
Well, I would assume based on previous conversations that perhaps miles and miles of orchards, maybe wine country, perhaps. The thing is, Coach, I understand I've gotten the button up and all that stuff, but I've actually never been to wine country. I don't even drink that much wine.
I could have swore I saw you on a billboard out here driving in for one of the vineyards. I could have swore I saw that, but
that might be true, Coach. It doesn't mean I was actually there.
Very good. Indeed, as the counselor said, I am in wine country. One of my heroes, Brett Saberhagen, 1985 World Series, Kansas City Royals. It's one of the great moments of my life. He calls, I pick up, but I'm still going to be here right now and tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So let's get right into it, boys, because Proppy looks laser-focused today. Are you, Proppy? Yes?
I am born ready, Coach.
Love the enthusiasm. All right, game number 1 at 1 o'clock. We got the Rams. We got the Cowboys. No official picks as a brand on this game, but this is fascinating and very, very important. We're going to start with you, Counselor. For the Cowboys, they're favored by 7, the total 45.5. That according, of course, to our partners at BetMGM. How are you handicapping this one?
Yeah, this is a popular game from a daily fantasy standpoint. I want to point that out. I think a lot of people think this Dallas offense is going to click, that Tony Pollard is going to start to click. I actually kind of like Tony Pollard rushing and receiving props. I'd be looking at Jake Ferguson here, but I do think 7 points is too much here. I mean, the Rams have been very underwhelming defensively, offensively. They just really haven't hit their mark, but I don't think they're super intimidated by going into Dallas. I actually think this line should probably be closer to 6. We're getting that push at the key number 7. So while it's not an official play, if I had to pick something here, I'd actually lean a touch towards the under perhaps. Maybe Darrell Henderson in this running game get involved and Tony Pollard on the other side. But I think the Rams plus 7 is a decent play.
There's certainly some numbers out there to support that lean for the Rams coming off certain ways. You know, there's always statistically a way to play a certain side. Now, Proppy, I come to you. There's 2 big names on both sides, CeeDee Lamb on the Cowboys and Puka Nacua on the Rams that people are loving to play their props. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually like the spot for CeeDee Lamb quite a bit, Coach. I think, as Sia mentioned, the 7-point spread, that does feel a little bit hefty to me as well. I think the Rams possess enough offensive firepower, certainly looking at Puka Nacua, as you mentioned, Cooper Kupp, Tutu Atwell, Tyler Higbee, to really push Dallas. We've seen Dallas with a neutral game environment lean heavily on CeeDee Lamb. I'm not overly worried or concerned with the Rams defense. So I do anticipate it being a large, hefty dose of both CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard mixing in the run game. Their all-pro left tackle, though, will be missing this game as Tyron Smith will be inactive today, Coach.
And AB, you know, sometimes it's always about the spread and who's going to cover what and props. But sometimes you just need to have a good win and a good performance. That's what Dallas needs today.
Yeah, it is. You know, and look, I kind of lean to the over, but I think Sia brought up a really good point. Is this game going to be run focused for both teams, or is it going to be pass focused for both teams? Because they both play aggressive. Now, this would be a great game for Michael Gallup if he didn't have hands of asphalt and could actually catch passes, right? But I'm fascinated to see it. No official plays from me, but yeah, man, like these 2 teams play aggressive. Like this should be a fun game for sure.
And they're both very much in the discussion of the playoffs. So it's kind of a rubber meet the road for both teams today. By the way, my man Seth in the chat, good morning, gents. Let's have a great Sunday, he says. I remember when we'd have 20 people watching this when the show started during college basketball. That's right, December of 2020. Awesome to see this growth keep kicking. Thank you, Seth, for that great note. Sometimes we have to look back and remember where we started. No doubt. 3 years ago, coming up very, very soon. Game number 2 at 1 o'clock today, and there are 9 of them today. So you're going to have to spread out your bets quite a bit. It's a loaded 1 o'clock slate. Vikings favored by just 1 in Green Bay. Total 41.5. We do have a couple plays on this, and I'm going to start with a side because the way the Vikings played last week against the 49ers, Sia, I think they've got something here. Do you?
They've got something, and I don't want to just go off of last week's momentum, because then anytime you do that, you're kind of chasing last week, and we know this is a week-to-week league. What I'm really chasing here by taking the Vikings money line, it's a pick 'em, so it's -110, is just fading Jordan Love. Listen, Jordan Love's not a very good NFL quarterback, at least not as a starter. And I think he's really been exposed over the last few games. The first couple of games, he looked okay, even though his completion percentage was complete garbage. He still looked okay, had some touch on the long ball, and was managing to manufacture wins. But Minnesota's defense isn't bad. Brian Flores does a really good job with that defensive squad. They can stop the run. So even if Aaron Jones is back and healthy, I don't think he and A.J. Dillon are going to do a ton. And what does that mean? That means you have to lean on Jordan Love. Then look at the other side. Kirk Cousins is a pretty good quarterback. I mean, he's a slightly above average quarterback. He's treating Jordan Addison like Justin Jefferson, and that seemed to work out last week. He's got other weapons, specifically in TJ Hawkinson and guys like KJ Osborne and Powell. I just think the Vikings are too much. I think they're a level above the Green Bay Packers, and it's largely because of the Jordan Love experience, which I don't love at all. So give me the Vikings on the road money line.
All of a sudden off screen, AB's got a big old fat smile on his face because Sia just brought up the guy that got AB into the club again and again and again. But when these two teams meet, AB, and you've been really good at projecting in different games mistakes. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, I tell you what, I like a lot of mistakes in this one, and I'll keep it simple. Vikings, Packers, over 2.5 turnovers, -130, a good, attractive price here on this one, and Sia just nailed it. Look, Jordan Love, yeah, man, he's been turning the ball over like crazy, but the Vikings, even if they play from ahead, they really don't have a run game to milk this thing, and Kirk Cousins can create trouble for himself any moment, anywhere on the field, specifically in the red zone. That's where he is at his worst. So I like that. And we get it, both teams. Fumbles count too. Yeah, this could be a wild one, especially with these two teams, division opponents, rivals, hate each other. Yeah, definitely.
2 official plays, Vikings on the money line and over 2.5 turnovers combined between the two teams. Now, Proppy, every time we talk about the Vikings, almost every single time, you say Kirk Cousins is severely underrated. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Again, Coach, I just think we're looking at this matchup. There's a massive advantage if we're looking at the Viking side in comparison to Jordan Love. I thought Sia hit the nail on the head. Also, this Brian Flores defense, these guys are really buying in. It's starting to click. You're starting to see this defense really perform well. They blitz 63% of the time. That is a massive margin, more so than any other team in the league. I think Jordan Love's going to falter under pressure. As far as props that I like, I expect a balanced attack from Minnesota. I think Jordan Addison can have a good game today. No Jair Alexander, the Packers' top corner. So that's a big boost to Addison's matchup. As far as the run game is concerned, I do anticipate them being balanced. Green Bay's defense has been susceptible to the run. Last week we saw Alexander Madison handle early down work in the first quarter and then ceded pretty much every touch to Cam Akers in the second half. So something to pay attention to will be how much is Cam Akers involved. If he has a good game here, this could become more of a split in his favor moving forward.
And if you are a SportsLine member, several picks within that game at SportsLine. One of them, in fact, is on Cam Akers. I'm not going to tell you which one, but there is one in there on Cam Akers. Now, look at you, even answering questions in the chat as you're giving your take. Wenzel, you're welcome. Now, by the way, you guys are getting very, very lazy on me. Hit that like button when you come in, please. It really helps the show grow. You're driving AB absolutely bonkers. He's our YouTube guy. Help him out a little bit.
Come on.
Exactly. All right, now, game number 3 of 13 this afternoon. It's like an embarrassment of riches. We're going to go to Tennessee. Your neck of the woods debut, and I'm starting with you because the Falcons are favored by 2.5. Total is a robust 35. I don't even know what to do with this game. How about you tell me, AB?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I've got 2 picks on this game. First off, we're going to take the Falcons on the money line. Look, the Titans are without quarterback Ryan Tannehill. They are going to utilize a 2-quarterback system today. Malik Willis will get the start, and Will Levis, the rookie from Kentucky, will be the number 3. Here's where it's tough. Will Levis is behind Malik Willis, and they don't even let Malik Willis throw the football. So I don't know what you think you're going to get out of Tennessee. Not to mention they just traded Kevin Byard, who was legitimately the heart and soul of that defense. Derrick Henry could be on the radar as well. I know we saw reports that they're not looking to trade him. Yeah, pay attention to his usage today. That'll tell you everything you need to know. Tajay Spears could be an excellent play today for Tennessee. Absolutely. But we take the Falcons here. All right. Now, the Falcons head coach, Arthur Smith, was the offensive coordinator for Tennessee for years. He went up against this defense. He knows everything about this defense, and it's not that good because Kevin Byard masked everything. So I like the Falcons here. But on the Titans side, Nick Folk, kicker, over 1.5 field goals. This is going to be a perfect game because you see that total 35, every point matters. And Nick Folk, not to jinx him, he hasn't missed a single kick all season. This man has been incredible. He has hit this number in 5 of his 6 games today. Tennessee is good enough to get the ball down the field, but not quite in the end zone. Nick Folk could go off. He could have 4, 5 field goals today, honestly.
And EC believes the other side, too. He has an official play from our prop show on Friday, over 1.5 for Coup on the other side for the Falcons. We're playing both field goal kickers today. Now, Proppy, let me come to you, because last week there was a little bit of controversy as Bijan Robinson didn't get any looks, any play, and they had his full numbers. It launched kind of an investigation. It is what it is, but we found out just kind of a bad week health-wise. Do you like him this week?
I like him quite a bit, Coach. Yeah, it turns out he was experiencing some migraine Saturday night and Sunday morning. Didn't appear on the injury report. Handled 1 touch in the 4th quarter on the Falcons' final drive. Finished with 1 carry for 3 yards. Inexplicable to me, as you mentioned, Coach. NFL has launched an investigation into this. Bijan practiced in full this week. I anticipate a full workload. He's got to be fresh in this spot. Titans' run defense has been very good, but it's been more reputation-based than not. They've faltered over the last 3 or 4 weeks. The Falcons are able to run the ball successfully against anyone as well. So I expect a healthy dose of Bijan. I like him to eclipse 13 to 15 carries. You're getting a huge discount on his rushing line as well. It's under 50 yards. This is certainly one of my favorite props this week, Coach.
And Counselor, as we look at the play at SportsLine, there's also a play in this game to fade Derrick Henry. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, this is one of those where Derrick Henry's going to get a lot of volume. I would actually almost be inclined to take his rushing and receiving overs. The question is, can he be successful knowing that Levis and Malik Willis aren't going to be throwing it down the field much? Obviously, that means you're going to stack the box, which people do against the Titans anyway. To be honest with you, I'd probably avoid Derrick Henry unders or overs because I do think he can have a couple breakout runs against this Atlanta. Listen, the rush defense for Atlanta is pretty good, but that doesn't mean Derrick Henry's not going to bust 1 or 2 runs on them, given that he's going to get so much volume. So for me, it's a stay away on Derrick Henry.
All right, next game up, we're going to Indianapolis. Not a lot of play on this one, really. We haven't seen anything all week. But again, kind of an important game because of the different divisions that both teams play in. Saints are favored on the road. Gardner Minshew's been pretty good, though. In fact, he scored 2 touchdowns last week. You would have cashed plus 9,000 if you would have played that. Who's playing that, though, really? Let's be honest. The total 43.5. Proppy, how about we start with you? Because when you look at the Colts and now they have Jonathan Taylor back, it does look like a game with some opportunities.
Yeah, it does indeed, Coach. Zach Moss, questionable coming into this game. Turns out he will be active. I do anticipate Jonathan Taylor getting the majority of the work in the backfield. He looks to be getting into the swing of things, looking like that back that led the NFL in rushing yards 2 seasons ago. I really like the rookie wide receiver, Josh Downs, slot wide receiver. He has been very good. Gardner Minshew and him has shown some excellent chemistry as well. So look for that role to continue, or that relationship to continue to blossom there. As far as the Saints are concerned, I believe Michael Thomas was a late addition to the injury report, questionable coming into the game, practiced all week, either had some type of illness or injury in warmups today. Interested to see if anyone could tell us in the chat what his status is, because that would obviously have a huge ripple effect on the rest of the Saints props.
Yeah, you know the chat's always taking care of us. Now, in the chat, Matt Ray says, see ya, I'm liking Michael Pittman today. Do you like anything on the Colts side?
I like Pittman and Josh Downs because I do think Minshew's going to have to throw the ball a little bit as opposed to, I mean, listen, they're going to run the ball with Jonathan Taylor, but no, I'm not taking any overs there. If anything, if I'm looking at overs or any props in this game, and by the way, Michael Thomas is active. He is going to play. I'd be looking at the Saints, and I'd be looking at Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave. We're going to see a lot of checkdowns to Alvin Kamara. His receptions prop is 4.5. I don't really like that as much as the yardage, which is in that 35 range. But I think he's going to finally connect with Chris Olave. He's missed Chris Olave. They've had this sort of miscommunication. We saw it on national television just a few days ago. I think Olave gets a long reception. I wouldn't play his longest reception necessarily, but I'd be looking at his over in receiving yards. That would be the only thing I'd look at in this particular game.
Yeah, and back to Kamara, if you're a SportsLine member, two of our cappers at SportsLine, they're on his over 4.5 catches, as Sia alluded to, but it's very juicy now. It's like minus 160, minus 170, just very high to play a prop, as we've learned from Proppy for years. Now, the next game is fascinating, and there's a lot of different ways to play it. And the Patriots, will the real New England Patriots please stand up, coming off a huge comeback win against the Bills last week. So now they go to Miami. Dolphins favored by 8.5. It's over that touchdown. Total 46.5. AB, let me start with you, because the one thing we've been able to rely on all year, except for that Buffalo game, is the Dolphins to score points. Can they do it today against this Pats defense?
Oh, yeah, they can, Coach. Look, we're going to take Dolphins team total over 27.5, and I'll tell you why. All right? They're coming off the loss to Philadelphia, coming back home, facing a division opponent. That alone is enough. Here is a nugget for you. The Dolphins have played 3 games at home this year. In those 3 games, they are averaging 47.7 points per game, 588 yards per game, and they have beaten said 3 opponents by a total of 86 points. This team loves playing at home, and they have every reason to start as fast as possible to get that taste out of their mouth from Philly. I love Miami's points today.
All right, so let me come right over to you, Proppy. What do you make about what AB just said?
Yeah, I would expect Miami's offense. This is the get-right spot for them. I agree with AB. They just possess so much speed. Just with Tyreek, obviously, on the field, opposite Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert. They're just so dangerous. I expect them to certainly make a lot of big chunk plays. One player I did want to point out, who I would implore you to pay attention to, is rookie wide receiver on the Patriots, Demario Douglas. He's a starting slot receiver last week. I was actually really hoping that Juju Smith-Schuster, who was concussed last week, would be inactive, because Douglas handled almost every single snap from the slot last week. That is a very Mac Jones loves targeting the slot as much as any quarterback in the NFL. I still think, based on last week's performance, he's going to play more snaps than Juju, just someone to keep an eye on as the season progresses. He could be in for a good game today. His receiving line is only 27.5 yards. He's someone I definitely have my eye on, Coach.
Use it today or into the future. Now, see, I'm coming to you for your take on this game, but also I need you to answer my man, Japan_5. He needs some fantasy help. Does he play Jay Downs over Zay Flowers or Drake London?
Oh, wow. No, I would probably play Zay Flowers. If you can only pick one of those, I'd play Zay Flowers. We'll get to that Arizona and Ravens game where I have an official pick, by the way. It's also a game I'm really focused on in DFS with Lamar stacks. Speaking of DFS, Demario Douglas, he's 3,300 on DraftKings. He's a guy I've jammed into a lot of lineups for all of the reasons that Proppy just said. Again, in a negative game script, you got to think that even though Juju Smith-Schuster is healthy, Demario Douglas and maybe some other pieces not named Juju Smith-Schuster are going to be getting a lot of work. So I really like him. Just if you're playing DFS, other pay down options, Michael Gallup and Brandon Powell are all in that 3,200 to 3,400 range. As far as this game, I do think the Dolphins probably run away with it. I do like their team total over 27.5 that AB had in there. And I'd look for Tyreek Hill, even though we're seeing kind of lingering hip issues. I look for him to have a big game as well.
All right, very, very good. This is going to be a highly watched game, and use a lot of what happens today, because both teams have things to prove. Now, do not forget, many of you, hundreds, I mean, we're into the thousands, have signed up to play with us at BetMGM, but there's still a lot of you who have not. So right here, right now, new BetMGM customers can sign up today, get $200 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $10 on anything, and you will receive $200 instantly in bonus bets, regardless of your wager's outcome with bonus code EDGE200. That is EDGE200. Now, our next game, the only play as a brand, at least that I know of, EC playing Breece Hall over 68.5 rushing yards. That's now at 72 or 73. I implore you to watch our prop show live. But Jets are favored by 3. Obviously, they play in the same stadium, boys. The total, are you kidding me right now? 34.5. Sia, let's start with you. The Jets have had some wins. The Giants just beat the Commanders. I don't know what to do. Talk to me.
So my first instinct here was to play the Jets -2.5, which is around where it opened. It's -3 now. And I really started to gain momentum for that take. I almost put it as an official play on SportsLine, but then I started to get a little nervous because a couple things going on here. Like, we've got rain in the forecast. By the way, that Miami game is going to have winds, probably no rain, but the winds in that Miami game are not going to be high enough for me to get off of that game in terms of Miami putting up some scores there. But yeah, I think this one is a stay away for me, but I definitely lean the Jets. The problem is I think the New York Giants pass rush is completely legitimate, and especially when you get kind of mucky conditions, these rainy conditions, I could see Zach Wilson really having a problem game. I do like Breece Hall. I like him to score a touchdown. I like EC's play as well. The Giants side, I think Tyrod is going to come back to earth a little bit. I think now that we have 2 weeks of tape on him, I think the Jets are really going to come after him. But because this is such a low total, I really think this could come down to which of those two quarterbacks turns the ball over. And that's not a guess I'm willing to make, which is why I'm off this game. Certainly lean towards the Jets, but there's too much, especially with the conditions. I'm just off of it.
And I'm so glad you brought up the name Tyrod Taylor, because probably as I come to you, he has started to go to different receivers than what Daniel Jones did, and I think it's causing sports books to not know what numbers to put on which guys. Am I right?
Yeah, he's looked pretty good, Coach, and I think a big part of that has been the Giants have had adequate boundary wide receivers that are playing well. Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, the rookie. They're adding another dimension to this offense, opening things up, especially in the middle of the field. I don't think it's an accident that we're seeing Darren Waller really settle into that role as the number one pass catcher. I think it's been just having those two guys on the outside has really kind of taken the pressure off of Waller. So I think Waller is going to continue to be productive. We see this Jets defense, they give a lot of production over the middle of the field, which is where Waller primarily operates, as well as Wan'Dale Robinson. The Jets have excellent boundary corners, as we know, in Sauce Gardner. So yeah, I expect another good game from Waller. He is battling a hip injury, I believe, questionable coming in. He is active. So as far as they're concerned, I do expect it to be the Darren Waller show. As far as the Jets offense is concerned, I agree with Sia. Breece Hall, it's going to be a huge workload from him. He is playing without any limitations, looks absolutely phenomenal. I will say this Giants defense, however, seems to have gotten their act together, which explains the low total. They've certainly been playing a lot better football over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
And that's exactly, AB, where I'm coming to you, and that's the total. A lot of times people just go, oh, it's such a low total, I've got to bang the over. We got to be careful with that, yes?
Oh, very careful, especially in this game. I thought both Props and Sia brought up excellent points. These two defenses do the exact thing that both quarterbacks cannot have, all right? The Giants can rush, and they could get after the Jets quarterback quickly and cause havoc. Now, for the Giants, when you have Tyrod Taylor, you've seen they want to roll him out. But you don't want to cut off half the field when the Jets have excellent corners on the side. And when you do roll out, you can't run the football. And that's what they want to do. I would be so careful on this game. There could be turnovers in very short fields. Oh, I don't want anything to do with it. I would be very, very careful. Yeah.
You guys know how much I despise certain betting lingo. You know, when I hear the word lean, you know, it just drives me absolutely insane. Stay away is another one of those that we have to say. It drives me insane. This is a stay away for me, and I'm breaking my own cardinal rule. It just is.
This is the one that's worth it. Like it is.
The one time. All right, now this next game is not a stay away for anybody. Fascinating. When the Steelers go on the road to La La Land and they get a victory, and somehow they're above 500. We don't know how. They come back home to host potentially the hottest team in the AFC, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They continue to win. That trip overseas did something for them. So as I look at my notes, AB, I'm coming to you first because you think on the Steelers side, when you have a game like this, Kenny Pickett, well, he plays like Kenny Pickett. Jags favorite 2.5, total 40.5. How are you attacking this game?
Yeah, Coach, we have 2 plays, and I'll tell you how confident I am in this one. And me and Props text about this at about 4 a.m. all the time. Kenny Pickett is throwing an interception today. He's thrown 1 since week 2. He is so severely overdue to throw an interception. Props knows he breaks it down all the time perfectly. He telegraphs his passes. And you look at the Jaguars, they don't really have a great pass defense per se, but they could pick the ball off. They have 9 interceptions this year. He's going to throw a pick. And this is how confident I am. My second play on this game, Jaguars Steelers over 2.5 turnovers. They're going to turn the ball over a ton. Kenny Pickett, I really do believe, is going to have 2 interceptions today. And the Jaguars, they'll turn it over too. They make some bonehead decisions as well. But Kenny Pickett is so severely overdue to throw an interception. He's put it up today.
All right, 2 official plays from AB. Also, EC from the Prop Show on Jaylen Warren over 19.5 receiving yards, -110. Now, Proppy, in the chat, my man Caddy Daddy, what is my career, says Chris Kirk should keep getting fed in this game. Oh, my goodness, the box showed up at absolutely the wrong time. But you know what I'm talking about. Chris Kirk, should he have a big day?
Yeah, he should have a big day. I think actually both Jaguars pass catchers, all 3 really, if we're counting Evan Ingram as well, the tight end. But I think Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, all 3 could potentially go over their receiving totals. This Steelers defense, particularly in the back end, they're old, they're slow. They've given up the 3rd most yards overall defensively, 2nd most yards to opposing wide receivers on a per game basis. So I look at the spot as a great opportunity to buy low, bounce back for Calvin Ridley. They're using Minka Fitzpatrick, who is by far the Steelers' best defensive back. They're using him primarily in the box, and it's helped shore up the run defense. But again, it's left the back end very vulnerable. They have 2 older corners, all due respect to Patrick Peterson. So yeah, I think both pass catchers, Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, the tight end again, Evan Ingram, are all in play for potentially big games here.
Thank you to Guzzle Money. He says the Kirk number right now is 54.5 -115. Of course, you can play that prop at BetMGM. Now, Counselor, let me come to you, because when you have a matchup like this is kind of an opportunity to kind of see how these 2 teams not only match up in the AFC, but to see who is for real after what we saw last week. Is Jacksonville the team that has won multiple games in a row to you?
Yeah, 4 games in a row. So the question is, let me answer it for you. I don't think either team is for real, which is part of the reason I actually like Pittsburgh in this one, +2.5. I wish the money line number was a little bit better. Like right now, I think it's like +114. I expected this line to maybe click up to 3, and maybe we could get like +125, +130 on the Steelers money line. But listen, I think the Jaguars are overrated. They have won 4 in a row. They've looked better than I thought, but I got to disagree with AB here specifically, because he says Kenny Pickett is going to throw 2 interceptions. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, I like his over 2.5 turnovers, but I think Trevor Lawrence, I think this defensive line, they're getting some guys back. We know Watt is there. I think they're going to be all like their pressure rate hasn't been that great. And I got to say, well, it's been good, but the Jacksonville offensive line has actually been good in sort of giving Trevor Lawrence more time. I don't think it's going to happen this week on the road, though. I think Trevor's going to make a lot of mistakes. I do like the Christian Kirk over, by the way, but for me, I think the Steelers win this one. I think you're going to see the Jaguars really kind of look out of sorts a little bit. And by the way, I think because Deontay Johnson is back, it really opens up the offense. We saw it last week. Pickens really had a lot more openings because Deontay Johnson was back. He commands a lot of attention from the defense. So don't be shocked if Kenny Pickett, Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, and of course, George Pickens move the ball down the field.
How confident are you in the Steelers today, Sia?
Oh, I'll take a showdown, Coach.
Damn, you have to be so aggressive? I just asked how confident you were in the Steelers. That's all. What makes you think I was asking for a showdown?
I always revert to showdowns because that's what it's all about.
AB, hit that damn music.
It's gonna be a showdown.
because we are men of honor, we throw the points out the window. We're going to – oh, no. I have the favorite. We'll go 2.5. My bad. I thought I was doing you a solid. And I had it reversed in my mind. I told you I'm in wine country. I may have had a glass or two last night. That's all I'm saying.
I've had a box. What of it?
I feel like that was some purposeful reverse psychology to get me to do what Coach was allegedly trying to do. But I'm not going to do it. I'm taking the plus 2.5. Sorry, Coach.
Damn it. That was kind of next level stuff right there, wasn't it?
It was. I caught it, though.
Damn it. All right. 2.5 is the number. Showdown, me and the great one, the counselor of cash. I have the Jags. He has the steel curtain. All right. Now, when if you ever think that you guys are going to get through us on the bots, I'm telling you right now, we will end you in the chat. Steve, don't expose yourself. He says, isn't it supposed to be really windy in Miami today? That's exactly what we talked about when we talked about the Miami game, which means you weren't here at the top of the show. Don't expose yourself. Now, another person in the chat says, hey, have they discussed the Eagles and the Commanders yet? Well, you came into the show right on time. Next game up, Eagles and Commanders. Eagles favored by a touchdown. Total 43. And Proppy, out of respect, you know we always come to you first. This is your squad. This is your team. And you also have two best bets at least in this game. Talk to me.
I do indeed, and this is my team, Coach, and I like this spot for the Eagles here. I actually like them, the point spread here at -7. I think they're going to potentially roll on this Commanders team, who are very vulnerable in the back end. That's why I love Devontae Smith as a buy low. I think there's some squeaky wheel narrative here as well regarding Devontae Smith. He's got the highest ADOT of any wide receiver. This Commanders defense have given up more 15-yard receptions than any team in the NFL, so I think he gets behind the defense, and Devontae Smith has a very big game today. But one play I haven't given out yet today that I'm giving out exclusively here is Brian Robinson, the Commanders running back, to go under a combined 50.5 rushing and receiving yards. This Eagles front seven, their run defense is absolutely elite. They rank top 5 in nearly every single rushing defensive metric. One thing that's a big boost to them as well is Jordan Davis, former Georgia Bulldog, who's having an excellent year, one of the league's premier run stuffers. Suffered a hamstring injury in practice on Friday, but he is going to be active today. So that is a big boost and a big negative for the matchup for Brian Robinson. Last week, we saw Chris Rodriguez, another running back on this Commanders team. He outgained Brian Robinson, finished with one fewer carry, but had more rushing yards. They were using him when the game was still competitive as well. So to me, that signals that this Commanders running back situation could be a full-blown committee where Brian Robinson was the lead back for the majority of the early parts of the season. I think this is a great spot to fade him. I prefer the combination line here because of the fact that I do expect Rodriguez to eat into his snap share quite a bit, and Robinson isn't really that great of a receiving running back.
All right. And he's also on Dallas Goedert in this game, over 39.5 receiving yards, -120. Again, we gave that out on Friday. But the reason I say that, as I come to you, because Proppy educated us on Friday about how Goddard, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith get a lion's share of the targets from Jalen Hurts. In fact, last week, 27 completions to just those three. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, that's why we love playing the Eagles in fantasy and DFS, because you kind of know where the targets are going. It's the same thing in Miami, where you pretty much know they're going to Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I don't really see how the Washington back end, listen, it's a division game. Washington's at home. They were very competitive with the Eagles just 3 to 4 weeks ago, taking them to overtime. But I don't see this happening again. I really think the back end is going to be exposed. Jalen Hurts, he has that knee issue. I actually think that sort of helps the passing game. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be in the pocket a little bit more, like a little less running perhaps. And I think Devontae Smith is really due for his breakout game, not just because he's, quote, due, but because this back end is so bad. I think Devontae Smith's going to get loose. It'll just be a matter of Jalen Hurts connecting with him. Because it's a division game, I'm not going to take the Eagles -7, but I do enjoy these props. I even think DeAndre Swift could have a nice game, but the Dallas Goedert over 39.5 is a little high. I might be going to his receptions. I do like that, though. But Devontae Smith, I could absolutely see him breaking out. And by the way, Brian Robinson under, I like that as well. Chris Rodriguez really did get some action. And it was largely because Brian Robinson's not a very efficient running back. That dates back to last year. He wasn't efficient last year. He was efficient for a couple games this year. But listen, it's just not a good scene. He's not really getting anything through the ground game. So you'll see a little bit of Antonio Gibson. You'll see a little bit of Rodriguez. Either way, Brian Robinson under, I do like that.
A lot of names to talk about from Proppy and Sia. AB, your thoughts?
Yeah, you know when you have a wasp in your house, right? And it's kind of just, bugging you? That's what Washington is to Philadelphia. Yeah, exactly. You don't mess around. You walk right up, you grab that towel, you pop that boy, and you throw him out of the back door. That's what Eagles need to do today. Score early, often, light up the first half, take them completely out of the game. Yeah, don't let them hang around by your TV and everybody's freaking out. You just get rid of them.
I thought for a second you were describing my and EC's relationship, because that's kind of what it feels like to me. By the way, Ian Parker, the great MMA handicappers in the chat, said, not up in here. If you're going to talk trash, at least write it correctly, like you know what you're doing.
That's why I love my boy. He is the man.
Also, Mr. Wells says, thanks, Sia. You just let me know my team, the Steelers, are a lock today. Mr. Wells, you are dead to me. All right. One more early game. And, boys, we still have 5 to get to, so we got to speed it up just a little bit, please. All right. Texans minus 3.5 in Carolina. 2 rookie quarterbacks, Bryce Young, Chris Stroud. Total 43. Sia, you have a best bet in this game. You would talk in the side or the total?
Yeah, we're talking the total here. And I do want to point out the total that I got that I put on SportsLine, 43.5, it's down to 43. I mean, that's not a big difference, but it's a difference that I feel like I need to point out. Either way, this Panthers defense is ravaged by injuries, especially in the secondary. The way CJ Stroud is playing, by the way, both these teams coming off a bye, which means I think the offenses will be even more efficient and dynamic than they were. Usually that does favor offense and offensive sets. That secondary is really bad for Carolina. And for the record, the Texans secondary isn't very good either. I think Bryce Young, Adam Thielen, and some of those spare parts that they have are pretty good. But it's CJ Stroud. I think he's really going to push the ball downfield to Tank Dell, who's healthy. I know we have a play on Tank Dell, which by the way, I have on SportsLine too, but wait for that because Proppy's going to give you that. Nico Collins, they should all shine. Dalton Schultz. I like the over here, 43.5.
Okay, I kind of like that too. I already played it earlier today. Proppy, we just teased your play, and real quick, I just need a yes or a no. Guzzle Money wants to know, was that a yes on Devontae Smith over 4.5 catches or a no?
I'd go yes on it for sure. Prefer the yards there, but I like both.
Okay, and your play here?
Yeah, there is a rookie wide receiver on this Houston, Texas team who Sia mentioned. He's all of 5'9", 165 pounds, but he is built like a tank. I'm talking about Nathaniel Tank Dell returning to the lineup, had a concussion. This guy's been absolutely phenomenal when he's been on the field. Commands a massive target share, air yard share, getting targeted deep down the field with CJ Stroud, who's obviously an excellent rookie quarterback as well. So I love Tank Dell in this spot, getting him at only 46.5 yards. Sia mentioned the injuries with this Carolina Panthers defensive unit, and specifically in the back end as well. Also, no Robert Woods on the field. That locks Tank Dell into an every down role. So he is going to run a route on pretty much every single CJ Stroud drop back, has a very advantageous matchup, and he is a very explosive young rookie wide receiver. So I love me some Tank Dell. I will also mention Sia and I organically both put the play out on the same guy, same prop, Tank Dell, at virtually the same time last night.
And is there more to the story? I'm kidding. Exactly. That means great minds think alike. So get it in. I played Tank Dell because I'm a SportsLine member, and I played it when they gave it out because guess what? I have my notification set. Ding. Oh, I know there's a play, and I'll go play it. It's what it's all about. Now, full transparency as a brand, on our mega preview back on Tuesday, the Maestro played the Panthers plus the 3. If you watch that show, then you have his reasoning why. But AB, it seems like this is a game that maybe it's kind of a test between 2 rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, it is. And 2 rookie quarterbacks that know each other, and 2 rookie quarterbacks that are going to throw the ball a lot, especially CJ Stroud. I absolutely love both of these plays right here. It's going to be, I'm telling you, it's going to be an exciting game. It doesn't sound like it will, but it will be a fun game. The Texans are absolutely fun to watch. CJ Stroud lets it rip, man. That's going to be a fun game for sure.
All right. So that ends our early slate of the 9 games. Still 4 more we'll get to very, very quickly. But here's all of our plays from the early slate because we take care of you. We're going to leave that up on the screen for just a couple of minutes as we jump right into our next game. The first one at 4:05. The Browns. They have a great defense. They've surprised us several times already this season. In Seattle, Seahawks, they're solid. They're favored by 4.5, total 38.5. For a lot of people, this is their best bet. For a lot of people, this is their survivor pool pick. See ya. I'm coming right at you, big boy. What do you like?
The only problem with taking the Seahawks -3.5 is it seems a little too easy. I wish I had RJ White's number at -3, which of course he put out on SportsLine before I did. I'll keep this short and sweet. Listen, I get that the Cleveland defense is great, although they did get exposed by, what was it, Gardner Minshew last week for 38 points. But let's just throw that out, pretend it's an aberration. It's a great defense. But the Seahawks have a pretty good defense too, and they have a much better offense because they have all of their skill players there. Offensive line, a little shaky, a few injuries. But it's PJ Walker on the other side. I just think betting against PJ Walker is the play here. Even if this was, if it was 4, I would still take it. If it was 4.5, I'd still consider it. 3.5, I'm definitely taking it. Give me the Seahawks.
It does seem as Erlen Holland scores live on my little apparatus. So Man City, if you had them, they're up 2-0 start of the second half. Now, Proppy, let me come to you because I agree with Sia. This number seems way too easy. And I played it earlier in the week. I bought it down to 2.5 because I'm one of those guys. I like to buy points. Not everybody does, but I like to buy points, especially in the NFL. Did I do something stupid?
I don't think so. I do want to apologize right now. I have a crazy feline who is just running an absolute muck right now. He's just going absolutely wild. So he may make an appearance, and the connection may cut out in case he runs across the laptop. So just forewarning you guys. But I have a hard time seeing Cleveland being competitive. As Sia mentioned with P.J. Walker at quarterback, I do think the Browns will rely heavily on their run game, but that leads right into the strength of Seattle's defense. The Seattle defense is legit. They are one of the best run defenses in the NFL as well. Jerome Ford, who's been their leading rusher all season long since Nick Chubb went down, is questionable. They're battling a high ankle sprain. He's going to be less than 100%. I have a hard time seeing Cleveland really being moving the ball against Seattle in this game. I like Seattle quite a bit. As Sia mentioned, Seattle's offensive players all healthy as well. Going to be a heavy dose of Kenneth Walker. Cleveland's defense is a little bit vulnerable against the run. So, yeah, I think Seattle's a great look here of everything. Now, including props, I actually prefer Seattle on the point spread.
My diabolical side would love to see Goose just jump.
That's what I want to do.
Like, I just want to see him tear the whole thing apart. Oh, my God. AB, let me come to you because Proppy just said that name that we love to talk about every single week because he's an absolute beast out of Michigan State. Of course, we're talking about Kenneth Walker. People in the chat ask him about his anytime touchdown or his rushing over today.
Both. Look, and I'll say this. Look, absolutely anytime touchdown. This dude scores for Seattle week after week after week. But you were given an omen. Props has a wildcat running around over there. That's what Kenneth Walker is going to look like today, just running amok. Cleveland's defense is good. I'm not giving any disrespect to them whatsoever. But, dude, when Goose is going, so is Ken Walker, baby. Let's go.
There are certain things in the brand you just don't question. And then one of those is Goose going bananas when he likes one of Proppy's picks. It's uncanny. It's uncanny. All right, next game at 4:25. And today there are 3 4:25 games. Chiefs on the road laying a full touchdown in Denver. If you watched Air Force Colorado State last night, that's what it's supposed to be like today in Denver. Windy, snowy, total 46. Proppy, let me come right back to you because you like a name today. And he plays on the Denver side of the football. And I thought your analysis on Friday on how Kansas City is going to play the defense and kind of bracket is exceptional. Who do you like today?
Yeah, I like Javonte Williams, coach. I like the running back for the Denver Broncos. Go over 46.5 rushing yards. We saw Javonte Williams last week handle 15 touches against Green Bay, went north of 80 rushing yards. He's coming off the ACL knee injury, really looked as healthy as he's looked all year, had a very quick recovery time. So he is rounding into form here. Really love Javonte Williams. I expect him to be the focal point of Denver's offense. Denver's offense runs the ball, whether they're down double digits or they're up in this game. So I think Javonte Williams is going to get a lot of work today against Kansas City. Kansas City is a very good pass defense. They're a little bit vulnerable up the middle against opposing running backs. We've also seen Javonte Williams have his best games since he's entered the league against the Chiefs here. So getting a discounted line because he was hurt or not 100% early in the season looks to me like he's going to get 15 to 17 touches in this game. I think this is a great spot to back Javonte Williams.
Okay, two different ways. EC is on Isaiah Pacheco, his combo line of over 83.5. So, AB, let me come to you because the Chiefs have figured out they don't need to throw up crazy numbers, but then Patrick Mahomes go for over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns a week ago. How do we play the Chiefs right now?
Well, I'll tell you this. You play it the same way Patrick Mahomes has because he has just beaten the hell out of the Denver Broncos his entire career. He owns them. They could play in Kansas City. They could play in Denver. They could play on the moon. It wouldn't matter. Patrick Mahomes is getting them. I'll be honest. 7, I'll take it. I don't trust anything with Denver. Their defense is atrocious. They give up points and yardage like crazy. Travis Kelce, ever since he met some singer that I've never heard of, T Swift or something, has been on an absolute tear. It's Chiefs or nothing for me.
How about Kelce spending that private jet money? He was at game 1 of the World Series in Texas on Friday night, and they're leaving for Denver on Saturday. He had to be back in Kansas City that night, had to be a private jet. Good job for you, T. Kelce. Now, this feels like a really good teaser spot, Sia, because at 7, you could bring it down to 1, and with the Chiefs' history with the Broncos, they win every single game. And all you'd have to do is not just win by 1. Your thoughts?
This is why you're the best host in America, if not the world, because I was just thinking I like the Chiefs in a teaser, which I never do, with the next game we're going to talk about, which I guess is a professional tease from your backup host, Coach, because yes, I think you could involve the Chiefs in a teaser. And if you do a 7-point tease, which you'll have to pay a little bit more juice for, you can get this next game we're going to talk about under the key number of 3.
And that's why you are 1B. Let's go right there. Ravens laying 9.5. Cardinals host total 45. Normally 3.5 wouldn't be a good number unless it's this Ravens team that's been on fire. Talk to me.
Yeah, I like the Ravens. I mean, listen, this is one of those things where I hate taking the favorite on the road, but the Ravens have been so good, especially what they showed up against with Detroit was amazing, but we shouldn't have been altogether surprised. The defense has been flying around. The problem with the offense is they were so inefficient in the red zone for multiple games in a row. And it's surprising, right? With Lamar Jackson specifically and the receiver core and Mark Andrews, they should actually be highly efficient in the red zone. That's what we're starting to see. And I think that's what we're going to see in Arizona. Listen, the Josh Dobbs experience, it was really fun, but it's just not gone well the last few games. I don't expect it to get any better, especially when you consider his weapons in the backfield without James Conner. Marquise Brown's been really inefficient. I think it's just too much. It's overwhelming at this point when you face a Ravens team. I expect them to clear this by double digits.
I completely agree. Real quick, not to ruin my own flow. Many of you are asking, you guys know I have my connections. There is nothing to. A lot of people get IVs. Patrick Mahomes will play today. If he has a little bit under the weather, so what? There's nothing to it, or my guy would have told me. Okay? So relax. You don't have to ask the questions anymore. If I have any inside information, I give it to you guys. You know me. Now, Proppy, right back to you on the Ravens and the Cardinals, because outside of CS Pick and even at SportsLine, I don't think a lot of people know what kind of props to play in this one.
Yeah, this Ravens team is impressive, as Sia mentioned. I also recall last week AB mentioning, look at Lamar Jackson's completion percentage, or look at his completions prop. He is setting a career high by like a country mile with this Todd Monken-led offense. Lamar Jackson has made some huge strides as a passer, and he's completing passes as a very high rate. So that was a very good look from AB, and I think this is a great matchup to exploit again against an Arizona defense that really can't stop the run, really can't stop the pass. I think it's going to be a lot of Zay Flowers, a lot of Mark Andrews. I think they're going to be highly efficient in the red zone against this defense as well. So those are two guys I have my eye on as far as Baltimore Ravens props are concerned. I do want to point out one player on the Cardinals, though, who I like, maybe not necessarily a whole lot in this matchup because this Ravens defense is super legit, but going forward as the season progresses, whether it's Josh Dobbs at quarterback or whether it's Kyler Murray, is tight end Trey McBride. No more Zach Ertz. He is on injured reserve. The Cardinals have a very athletic move tight end and Trey McBride, who has flashed some serious athletic upside. He is going to be running a full complement of snaps with Zach Ertz on injured reserve as well. I think he can make a big impact in the second half of the season for the Cardinals.
Oh, that name, Zach Ertz. I'm still stung from the Philadelphia game, but at least I don't hang on to anything, AB. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'll be really quick. Remember last week, entering week 7, the Cardinals had been outscored 56-6 in the fourth quarter of games. And how many did they score in the fourth quarter last week? 0. So that's something to pay attention to. Props is right. Lamar Jackson on fire.
Boom. All right, final game, and look how it all comes down to this. Brock Purdy, he's out of concussion protocol, is scheduled to start today. Should be no issues there. Bengals on the road coming off a bye week. 49ers favored by 4.5. Look how far the numbers have come down for San Francisco now that they've lost 2 in a row. Total 44.5. AB, I'm going to let you start on this one because you got 2 quarterbacks that normally you don't think of as turnover prone. Explain yourself.
Absolutely. And I'll be real quick, too, because we don't have to explain it too much. Bengals, 49ers, over 2.5 turnovers. Brock's going to turn it over. Joe Burrow, he's going to turn it over. And you never know with both of these guys. You could have a backup come in at any moment, and all hell could break loose in this game. Take over 2.5 turnovers. Don't play the interceptions because you could get burned. Just play the turnovers. Keep it safe. Yeah, you're going to get this one.
Probably I come to you. There's always a 3-headed monster, but normally this guy, we haven't been talking about him this year too much. Who am I talking about?
Yeah, you're right, Coach. You're talking about T. Higgins. He's had a really disappointing start to the season in a contract year as well. Only one game where I believe he's eclipsed 30 receiving yards. So I am buying low here on T. Higgins. I like him to go over 46.5 receiving yards. This is a great buy low opportunity, in my opinion. The Bengals had a bye last week. T. Higgins returned from a rib injury where he missed a game and a half, 2 games, split snaps with Trenton Irwin. He is going to be back in a full-time role with the Bengals, potentially with some negative game script, as the 49ers are 5.5 or 6-point favorites here. So we're getting a huge discount on T. Higgins. His receiving line is usually between 58 to 70, depending on the matchup here. Only 46, and he's going to be in a full-time role. I think he's 100% healthy coming out of the bye week. Has no injury designation coming into the week. So I love this spot as a potential buy low on T. Higgins.
And there's always Jamar Chase that we talk about, Sia. There's always the quarterback spots, particularly in this game. And there's also tight ends that we talk about. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, I'd be looking at Jamar Chase and T. Higgins here. I mean, I think the only path to beating San Francisco, like we saw last week, we know their secondary isn't very good. It's their front 7. I was actually also looking at Joe Burrow completions, but it was just too high. It was 25.5. That's just that's way too much than I bargained for. I was hoping it was maybe 23.5, but I do think Burrow is going to be successful in the short area passes. He's going to have to get the ball out fast, but I do still like the Niners to cover. This line's down to 4 in a lot of places.
All right, very, very good. And that is the last 4 o'clock game. Do not forget that later tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, we will be back with prime time early edge, counting down to Sunday Night Football. As we put up all the late picks, early and late picks, we're going to go around. Ask my guys. We end every show this way. The number one most important thing, use this information either today or into the future. It matters. Knowledge is power. See ya. Start us off.
Well, I'll start with San Francisco, where we ended, because I think this is still the best team in the NFL. I actually truly believe that. They're coming off 2 losses, and they get a Joe Burrow-led team that Joe Burrow looks to be healthier. And for the record, they're coming off a bye. So, I mean, they really have to, to me, they have to put their stamp on this game, cover the spread, look like the dominant force that they looked like the first month and a half of the season. So I'm really looking forward to that game at 4. By the way, one last thing on Tank Dell. It was pointed out in the chat by a couple people. He turns 24 today. Take the over.
They always take the over on a birthday. Probably talk to me.
Yeah, I talk about it at length, ad nauseum, Coach. When we're betting props here, we're trying to find the sports books asleep at the wheel. We're trying to find an edge before they have found one. Usually it's going to be on young, emerging players whose roles are beginning to be defined. I mentioned a couple guys, Demario Douglas, Trey McBride. I even think Tank Dell applies as well. So whether you guys use that for this week, definitely has some opportunities moving forward as the season progresses. And those are certainly where you're going to find the biggest inefficiencies as far as the sports books are concerned.
AB, bring us home.
Yep. The Miami Dolphins might be throwing deep from the coin toss. I think that they're going to come out and try to score on the first play of the game and just keep it going. Also, number 2, look at Derrick Henry receiving yards today. That number is usually always set at 9.5 or 10.5, and he'll get it in one play, especially with 2 quarterbacks who are young and they don't trust to throw. They're going to keep it at the line of scrimmage. Excellent play if you're looking for something that a lot of people really don't pay attention to.
And I love the Chick-fil-A nuggets on a Sunday. They taste so good. Do not forget, tonight, Bears and Chargers will be live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. But in the meantime, there's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these Sunday tickets straight to the pay window for my entire crew. Love them all. Counselor, Proppy, AB, Snake always lurking. And Coach Phil, I know you're watching right now. You're the only person that's not in the club. What do you have for us tonight at 7:30? Hopefully all of you will tune in to find out. I'm the coach trying to keep this train on said track. We grind for you so we can win with you. It's truly what we're all about right here at the Early Edge. Good luck.